Yo, welcome back to the Silo Podcast. I'm Austin. Have you texted the person that you met at the last capture you were at? If you haven't, I'm gonna leave a little bit of space right now. Get their name in your head. Send them a little text. Let them know you love them. Let them know that you are thinking of them right now. I know you had one person in your head, whether you think they're cute or they had a sick outfit or you just want to work with them again. Like, reach out. We're here to support one another. If you haven't done that recently or you haven't texted a loved one that you love them yet, do that today. That's a great start. I want to talk today about a few different things that have been continually going on in my head, coming on to different podcasts in our area. I want to make a podcast about my experiences on podcasts and what valuable things I've learned through all this, because there's a lot of times where I just don't think about things that people bring out of me. And through another conversation I had today, in the last episode, I was talking about what I went through when I went and met with a friend at a cafe, and he told me all about restarting. What's up, you beautiful people? Welcome back to the Silo Podcast. I'm Austin, and we're in this weird nebulous spot between season 4 and season 5, and I just wanted to continue talking about things that are on my mind. Whether you find them interesting or not, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for absolutely destroying the reviews on Spotify and Apple Music. All those things have been going so well. I just can't thank you enough for your support. It means a lot, and it also helps this podcast grow. If you haven't done that yet and you listen regularly, please do that. That really does help a ton with the visibility. And I love podcasting. I love listening to podcasts. So if we can reach more people through doing these more, this review would help me, encourage me to do this more. I wrote a post recently about possibility paralysis and how that affects me as a person, as someone that's trying to run a personal brand and silo the brand and help other brands, grow, find reach, find new customers. I'm working with a coffee shop. I'm working with a custard brand, working with other small businesses and creatives around consulting. And I just wanted to give some thoughts on how do you even come up with ideas for that stuff? Because it's actually really difficult, but at the same time, you can make it easier for yourself. And through automations and templates and just defining different degrees of creativity in each of these posts or thought processes or whatever, I think you can help ease the pain of having multiple clients. In the small business space, if you're looking to get into retainer clients, which I'm trying to grow into. I think there's a lot of value in things that I've learned over the years, but even just these last few months where I've been really trying to push for more monthly recurring revenue. With possibility paralysis, I think there's just so much weight of each post has to be so different from the next, has to be so unique. This coffee shop can't have the same kind of reel that this custard place has. I keep almost saying the name of them. You probably know because we post them a lot. But yeah, there's just so much that you can do. There's so much. You can start an email list. You can start a podcast. You can be posting. You can do stories. You can make sure that their highlights look good. You can make sure that their bio is optimized. You can even have multiple links in the bio. How do you even start out building that brand for them? It's so many possibilities. Where do you start? Where do you end? You can't necessarily end. And as I talked about last episode, it almost doesn't end because it's about consistency. It's a long obedience in one direction towards a goal that either you set or they set. If they have no idea, hopefully you can get them on the right page. And I just think it's so interesting, how many ways you can go. And there's no right answer with social media. And you can either cater to the algorithm, which I would argue you can replace with audience, because what people are watching will be enhanced and uplifted through the algorithm. So I heard someone say in a podcast, whoa, that you can use those words interchangeably, whether you like to hear it or not. I think that's true. I think what the audience wants, you can give them, and you will see that return on your analytics page. So what the audience wants is what you can strive for, or it can be a very counter audience approach where it's actually a shock value. And maybe I'm rambling, maybe I'm not, but how do you get out of, like, what is there a template to success? I'm going to say no. There's just so many different ways. What do you think is the next step for you? I would challenge you and say, I think I'm coming in hot. I don't even know what I'm saying or what. I just have notes up. So this is very interesting. Hopefully you're just getting the raw Austin here. But there's also packaging. Like, what do you do? And I think that it starts off with a strong profile picture and bio. And then as you continue to build out your page, you'll kind of naturally find what people want to see. You'll see that in the view count and the like count, in the save counts and the share count. Something that I've learned, and this is very out of order at this point, is that through an interview with Colin and Samir, if you haven't followed them yet on YouTube, they are amazing at, talking with creators and figuring out what matters in the creative space. They recently interviewed the CEO of Instagram, and he was just talking about how, like, you see reach as what conversation will people have about this post? If you're posting like mission, vision, values, what, like, as the very first posts, that's a great foundation. But how do you include your audience in the conversation? Where do you see the conversation going after this post? When these 18 people like your first post, mom and dad included, what are they going to say? They're going to say, oh, I'm so proud of you for doing this. But is that the conversation you want to have every post? I think it's important to have those, like, man, I'm hitting these milestones, but what are your tentpole posts that, like, really rile up, get interest in your brand, in your business, in your person? You got to have that foundation of, like, who you are, why you're doing this, what is your history, but what does it look like to, hit different angles of who you are? I think this is a challenging part because everyone wants to say, hey, I'm a photographer, here are my photos. And while that's amazing because you need to share your work, I'm just wondering, like, who are you as a person? Why does it matter that I'm getting photos with you? Of all photographers in the non-photographer world, people are saying, okay, what makes you different than Jenny down the street that charges $20 a shoot to you that charges $350? Like, if you are able to healthily compare yourself to other people, I'd be curious what you think you offer as a uniqueness to yourself, other than just, hey, my photos are way better. Like, why are your photos better? Why is your mission of insert here, like, tangibly more interesting or better? Better is a weird word to use to describe missions than another. Another pondering that's been in my head for a while is, ever since I went to President's Coffee for, like, the location scout and met Tom, the owner, for the first time for Summer Capture Part 1, I was just, like, enamored. On my way back, I left maybe like 4 o'clock or something, and Gettysburg is like an hour and a half from where I live right now. And just getting, like, way outside of where I usually am in the world, like, I don't know, something unlocked that, like, I'm just so, like, and I said it last time, I'm so comfortable in the circles that I'm in. And I'm sure you experience this too. Like, you just don't want to leave what is comfortable. And a lot of the times as entrepreneurs, you are stuck in just trying to get the motor started and not, like, what the 10,000 foot view is. And something I wrote down, actually, as I was, like, driving home and just seeing the different city that, like, we're still able to gather, like, 50 plus people in, that they showed up for that way outside of where they normally are is that when you get outside your area, you realize how big the world is and how many opportunities there are. And I just felt like I had a chance to recharge, whether that be like the actual drive being refreshing because I couldn't just listen to the same podcast I usually do because it was over because of how long it took. But there's just something so freeing about like realizing that creativity is everywhere and it's not just in my normal circle. I felt like inspired. I felt different. I felt like a new creative when I was way out there and not even thinking about the normal. Like I was able to ideate past what I thought was possible. New partnerships in new cities is incredibly encouraging. And like, it was just so interesting and so freeing to be able to break down the barriers of like, I'm only in it for the South Central PA area, and that somehow does not include Gettysburg. And then we have an event and people showed up and the locals showed up. And so many people were like, how can I help with this? Where can I be to help you succeed in your vision and pour into what we're about as Silo? And it was just so interesting because, so many like new insights came out of that. So many new ideas, realizing that my creativity is just not built just in New York. My creativity is about reaching other people outside of that. It's about figuring out how impact can happen outside of in-person events. And I think the end goal obviously is to get people out of the digital space and into this. But as the same conversation I had today with this guy, with this friend, I was like, dude, I do have to start thinking bigger. Like almost what is possible in York and Lancaster and Harrisburg and Gettysburg, it can be expanded outside of what I think is possible. And if I want to grow as a human, as a filmmaker, as someone that wants to just continue to grow in the craft and sharpen my blades and my tools, I'm able to reach new people through other digital spaces, through podcasting, through like doing YouTube stuff. And I just got to keep doing it. Like we are posting or have posted like an actual YouTube video that recaps what we've done at Summer Capture Part 1. I had my buddy Chris work on that with me, and I can't wait to see what that looks like for us showing what we're about and getting more people's interest from all over Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, wherever that is, New York. I'd love to see people from all over the place. We had people at Summer Capture from Philadelphia, which has to be at least like a 3-hour drive. And I don't know why they did that. You guys are awesome for that. But I just know that I've just seen it. I've seen what is possible, and it would be a shame for me not to like continue to work through what that would look like on a larger scale. I'm thinking about fall activities right now. I want to bring back Mosaic. If you guys are listening right now, Mosaic is definitely happening this fall. I'm thinking about the collaborators that I want to have on that. I'm thinking about, what brings the most value to you guys. And I'm just in awe of what's possible. And the last few months, I feel like I've been the timing is the thing that's going to prohibit me from doing this. And then I have this amazing team. I'll hard launch them here. Michaela Fitch, Helen from Older and Wiser, and Chris Williams, who does Topher Media, who also is where the community wallpaper is from our last capture, where he hosts it on his website for free on his shop. Like, they have been such valuable assets to the team of Silo, building out like what needs to be done. And these people have been in it forever. Helen's been a community builder and an encourager and a networking superstar. Chris has been insane with the visuals, does street photography. He's been working on photos for behind the scenes from us. He's working on the video for the medium form video on YouTube from Summer Capture. Michaela's just an absolute administrative genius when it comes to planning timelines, getting head counts, figuring out strategy behind things, being an amazing writer, actor, all the things. I just can't have been, I couldn't have been blessed more as a team than to have them want to be in my court and help work on some stuff. So if you haven't already, y'all need to follow them. Shout out to them. They've just helped me so much get out of my head on things, and Helen specifically like giving me deadlines, because I am like sometimes way too in the clouds, and Helen will be like, so when does this need to be done by? And I'm like, and she's like, okay, how about this Friday? And I'm like, bro, you're helping me out so much here. And it's just been so cool. I'm so thankful for them. You need to follow them immediately if you haven't already. And they've just been, we're working on the mission, vision, values of Silo. It's been so incredible having them actually be boots on the ground for the last like 3 years of my life. And for them to actually be a part of that process is going to make such a huge difference, because it's going to be like from the community too. It's not me making arbitrary decisions. It's going to be like people also have a pulse on what's going on. And I want to continue to see and let them show their voices in Silo. So I think it's super cool, because it's been a while since we've had like a leadership team. And so now we're all in like this big group chat thinking through like hundreds of different ideas. Like you can thank them for the pre-cap and the recap emails that you've been getting. They've done amazing work with that. I think that's super valuable too. You guys can let me know what you guys think in the DMs about like emails and stuff like that. I think that's just something that as we continue to grow will be more and more valuable, both in communication, but then also making sure you guys receive the work that you guys have put into it, and models being able to find the work that they've been posted in and stuff like that. So emails have been huge. Working on mission, vision, values, working on communications for the next season of the podcast. I've sent out a few emails today already that I've been holding off on, and I'm so glad that that's possible through the weight that's been lifted off my shoulders through that team. So I can't thank them enough. They deserve this long of a shout out, honestly, on the podcast, and a lot more, because they've been putting in the work. Thank you guys. I know you've been waiting since the very last part of the last podcast to talk about using your failures and mistakes as like launching points. And dude, you gotta make mistakes. Like you gotta humble yourself and say, I've messed up at least once. You know that you fumbled the bag on pricing. You've set the bar so low with how much you should be charging. Dude, charge double what you're doing, and you'll see that you have half the clients, but you're getting paid double. I just do that for like 2 months this year. See what happens. You might get one client, but they're, paying the whole months that you would have had 4 clients in before. Just do it. If it doesn't work out for you, go back down. There's no problem with that. You feel free to experiment. I think some people get so in tune with like, this is what you have to do to succeed. This is how many times you have to post. I got to go to 4 networking events in the summer to meet 20 people that give me 2 leads, and then I'll be happy. Like, just find time to make mistakes. Just do it. You will learn so much more from mistakes than failures. You've heard it a million times, but it's so true. If you just are able to humble yourself and say, yo, I don't know it all. Maybe I need to hire someone that does know the part that I don't know for this job and take a pay cut. Do that, because you will put forth way like cleaner of a succinct product than you would if you were to try to do it all and make half of it look not as good as you want it to. And if that's what you do and you realize then that you need to hire someone else, that is something that you will carry for the rest of your professional career. So I highly recommend just humble yourself. It takes a lot mentally to be able to do that. But once you're able to do that and realize that you just need to be like more aware and more open on things that you haven't done right, and stop holding it so close and holding it to the point where it hurts you more, you will feel so much more freed. You'll feel so much more freed just knowing that, like, dude, messing up is a part of the process and no one's going to fault you for it. I think I heard somewhere that no one above you is going to critique you and want to push you down. You're only going to see that from people that are below you, that aren't making as much money as you, don't have the followers as you, don't feel like they have it all together. They see you as competition. The people that are above you or in a different skill bracket or whatever the case may be, you can get there by learning, but also they are just not there to put you down. They want to see you succeed. The people up top understand that, like, you winning is them winning. And those who don't are working with a toxic mindset of just competition. And that's just not the case with what we are trying to do. And we're trying to break that stigma of competition over community. That's just not how this generation works. We long for connection, and there's no way to do that with competition. You are pushing people away from yourself. If you are thinking that other people are competition, you're going to put yourself on an island where being nice to someone doesn't matter if you are pushing them away with the other hand. Just be nice to people. Said that last time. Spent plenty of time talking about that last time. Humble yourself. Be nice to people. Get outside your comfort zone. Realize that it's okay to mess up, because that is honestly the stories that you're going to tell the younger generation that look up to you. And that matters. You have a story to tell, and you do need to be able to share that testimony of what went wrong, because then the generation will just overcome the generation that, like, comes after you will be able to be one step ahead of where you were. And that's what legacy is about. Legacy is about, like, just shortening that gap of failure from the younger generation, and just being able to teach them the mistakes that you made earlier on so they can succeed at an earlier age, at a different stage of life, when they need it most, whatever that is. That's what matters. And offering that information freely is probably the next point. Being able to learn from your mistakes, be humble enough to realize that, make the mistakes, be kind to yourself and others, be gentle with yourself. I talked about that on the podcast with Michaela, about how you just have to be forgiving. You have to give yourself grace. And then finally, be able to share that with others. Be able to share that you messed up. That's a part of humbling yourself, is being able to not only just be aware of that with yourself, but then share that and be open with that and transparent. Like, I don't have it all together. You know what? That job that I did last month, I lost $500 on it because I dropped my camera, or whatever that case is. I spent too much money on this weaving piece of gear that, like, I didn't make any profit. But you know what? Over time, I think it could turn out to be a good investment. And if not, that's okay. You can tell someone that, like, dude, I don't have it all together. That transparency changes generations as well. And I think that is so key when we are just looking for community in everyday life, and you are finding yourself on an island because you in the past have pushed yourself away from other people. You push other people away from you because you felt so different than them. If you open up about your failures, you're able to be relatable to them. And I think that's key in building relationships with creatives, because we're all going to mess up. You're a professional, you're going to mess up. A lot of people don't have it all together. Most people don't have it all together. All people don't have it all together. We're learning as we go. That's what parents will tell you when they first become a parent. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm learning this all on the fly. That's why, you know, people read books about parenting or something. Like, they don't know what's to come. They can't learn it all from their parents. They have to have supplemental, like, knowledge thrown in there. They might have been harmed from past experience. That's why you need different perspectives and different names in your repertoire. And if you had a really good experience with a mentor in your creative field, I encourage you to figure out where their cracks are. If they've never told you about some of their failures through transparency, I would be more interested in their failures than their successes, because there's a lot more to learn there. So if you want to hear failures from like some of your favorite people, I would love, that would be a great conversation starter. And maybe that's something that at the next capture, you know how we had those papers at Summer Capture 1, maybe that's the next question. What is something that you failed at in the last year? I would have a list of like 50,000. So I think hopefully you can come up with one that you'd be willing to share. And that can go on, because I think honestly, transparency about pricing and how much you're getting paid, both in your full-time job, that's something that I advocate for. And if you want to hear like stories that I have, I'd love for you to DM us and ask that kind of question, because that builds deeper bonds. And I think you should ask anyone that. I think just continue to be open with people, and that sows into how deep you can go with people. That matters. And the faster you can get to a point where you're friends with someone, the more opportunities, both like professionally and just as friends, you can have. We're all looking for comfort. We're all looking for like stability, but we're not willing to share the failures that we had that got us to comfort and stability. And there's a cycle of that where as soon as you get comfortable, I would also challenge you to get outside your comfort zone. So make more mistakes. If you're feeling super comfortable right now, like I was for the last few months, this is me coming outside my comfort zone. And before even the next season of the podcast comes out, I'm recording another few episodes. So if you are interested in doing that, I challenge you to do that in the next few months. I know Summer Capture Part 2 is coming up. If it hasn't been announced already, it's coming in August, and we want you to be along for the ride. Something between now and when that happens, fail at something, make a mistake. I urge you to get outside your comfort zone, because that is what gets you to where you want to be. The only way you can do that is by doing something that is outside of what your game plan is. Your game plan, it can change. It can change. My game plan changed all the time. 4 years, my game plan for Silo has changed, has to be at least 50 times. We were looking in this direction. We were able to course correct to a different because of the analytics or whatever we thought was more in line with our personal values, or whatever that looks like for you. Be aware of that and do something that might make you scared. Obviously in a safe way, but do something that really challenges you mentally, because you will only see mental gain from that. I think that's huge. To end the podcast, man, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad that we are able to talk together and grow together, and just, yeah, I feel like this is the end. Like, I'm just saying like, man, it's been so cool hanging out with y'all. It's not. Silo's still going. It's still doing amazing stuff. Like, man, talking to people, as you heard in the last episode, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Whether you see it or not, this is my outlet to inform you guys in a way that isn't super structured, isn't super formulaic, doesn't cater to a different algorithm. It's a creative outlet. I like making these like look pretty, but then also just doing stuff that matters and enriches my life. So if you guys enjoyed this, again, leave a review on Spotify or Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, whatever it is. I don't even know. If you're watching this on YouTube, give it a like. Let me know what you think in the comments or in the Spotify React. There should be some good stuff coming. Thank you for the reviews. Let me know what you think of these kind of more off the cuff, but also somewhat topical. I don't know. Just some stuff that's been on my mind, and I want to talk to you guys more. So this is my attempt. Have a good rest of your day, rest of your drive, rest of your night, rest of your evening, and I'll see you soon. You won't be seeing less of me, so hopefully you're okay with that. Peace.